Chapter 3 of the Wishing Chair. It's called the Grabbit Gnomes. It was such fun to have a real live pixie to play with. Molly and Peter went to their playroom every day and talked with Chinky, whom they had so cleverly rescued from the giant's castle. He refused to have anything to eat because he said he knew the fairies in the garden and they would bring him anything he needed. Chinky, will you do something for us? Asked Molly. We know we can't be with the magic chair always to watch when it grows wings, but if you could watch it for us and come and tell us when you see it has wings, then we could rush to the playroom and go on another adventure. It would be lovely if you'd do that. Of course, said Chinky, who was a most obliging, merry little fellow. I'll never take my eyes off the chair. Well, will you believe it? That very night, just as Chinky was going off to sleep and the playroom was in darkness, he felt a strange little wind blowing from somewhere. It was the chair waving its wings about. Chinky was up and ran out of the playroom to the house. He knew which the children's room was, and he climbed up the old pear tree and knocked on the window. It wasn't long before Molly and Peter, each in warm dressing gowns, were running down to the playroom. They lit a candle and saw the chair's red wings once more. "Come on!" cried Peter, jumping into the chair. Where are we off to this time, I wonder? Molly jumped in too, and Chinky squeezed himself beside them. The chair was indeed very full. It flew out the door and up into the air. The moon was up, and the world seemed almost as light as day. The chair flew to the south and then downwards into a strange little wood that shone blue and green. "Hello, hello! We're going to visit the Grabbit Gnomes," said the pixie. "I don't like that. They grab everything they can, especially things that don't belong to them. We must be careful they don't grab our wishing chair." The chair came to rest in a small clearing near to some queer toadstool houses. The doors were in the great thick stalks, and the windows were in the top part. No one was about. "Oh, do let's explore this strange little village," cried Molly in delight. "I do want to." "Well, hurry up then," said Chinky nervously. "If the Grabbit Gnomes see us here, they will soon be trying to grab this, that and the other." The children ran off to the toadstool houses and looked at them. They really were lovely. How Molly wished she had one at home in the garden. It would be so lovely to have one to live in. "Whatever is Chinky doing?" said Peter, turning round to look. "He's got a rope or something," said Molly in surprise. "Oh, don't let's bother about him, Peter. Do look here. There are 6 little toadstools, all laid ready for breakfast. Fancy they use them for tables as well as for their houses." Suddenly there was a loud shout from a nearby toadstool house. "Robbers! Burglars!" Someone was leaning out of the window of a big toadstool house, pointing to the children. Quickly, all the Grabbit Gnomes woke up and came pouring out of their houses. "Robbers! What are they doing here? Robbers!" "No, they're not," said Chinky, pushing his way through the crowd of excited gnomes. "They are only children adventuring here." "Why did they come?" asked a gnome at once. "We came in our wishing chair," said Molly, and then she wished she hadn't answered. For the Grabbit Gnomes gave a yell of delight and rushed off to where their chair was standing in the moonlight. "We've always wanted one. We've always wanted one," they shouted. "Come on, let's take it safely to our cave where we hide our treasures." "But it's ours," cried Peter. "Besides, how shall we get back home if you take our chair?" But the gnomes didn't pay any attention to him. They raced off to the chair, and soon there wasn't a tiny piece of the chair to be seen. For, to Peter's dismay, all the little gnomes piled themselves into it and sat there on the seat, the back, the arms, everywhere. "Go to our treasure cave," they shouted. The chair flapped its red wings and rose up. The gnomes gave a yell of triumphant delight. "We're off! Goodbye!" "Oh, look," said Molly suddenly. "There's something hanging down from the chair. What is it?" "It's a rope," said Peter. "Oh, Chinky, you clever old thing. You've tied it to the leg of the chair, and the other end is tied to that tree trunk over there. The chair can't fly away." "No," said Chinky with a grin, "it can't. I know those Grabbit gnomes. I may not know what 3 times 7 are, but I do know that the gnomes are robbers. Well, they won't find it easy to get away." The chair rose up high until the rope was so tightly stretched that it couldn't go any further. Then the chair came to a stop. However, it hovered in the air, flapping its wings, but not moving one scrap. The gnomes shouted at it and yelled, but it was no good. It couldn't go any further. "Well, the gnomes are safe for a bit," said Chinky, grinning. "Now, what about exploring this village properly, children?" So the two spent half an hour peeping into the quaint toadstool houses, and Chinky gave them gnome cake and gnome lemonade, which were perfectly delicious. All this time the gnomes were sitting up in the wishing chair, high above the trees, shaking their fists at the children and yelling all kinds of threats. They were certainly well caught, for they couldn't go up or down. "Now, we'd better go home," said Chinky suddenly, pointing to the east. "Look, it will soon be dawn. Now listen to me. I'm going to pull the chair down to earth again with your help. We will pull it down quickly, and it will land on the ground with such a bump that all the gnomes will be thrown off. Whilst they are picking themselves up, we will jump into the chair and off we'll go." "Great idea," grinned Peter. So he and Molly and Chinky went to the rope and pulled hard, hand over hand. The chair came down from the air rapidly, and when it reached the ground, it gave such a bump that every single gnome was thrown off. "Ooh!" they cried. "You wait, you wicked children!" But they didn't wait. Instead, the 3 of them jumped into the chair, and Peter called out, "Take us home, please!" Before the Grabbit gnomes could take hold of the chair, it had risen up into the air. But the gnomes pulled at the rope, and down came the chair again. "Quick! Cut the rope!" shouted Peter to Chinky. Poor Chinky. He was feeling in every one of his many pockets for his knife, but he couldn't find it. The gnomes pulled hard at the rope, and the chair went down further. And then Chinky found the knife. He leaned over the chair arm, slashed at the rope and cut it. At once the chair bounded up into the air, free. "Home! Home!" sang Peter, delighted. "I say, talk about adventures! Everyone seems more exciting than the last. Wherever shall we go next?" And that's the end of the chapter.